Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm coming to you with the goals that I have for reading related stuff in 2026. So firstly, I'm just gonna get right into the really obvious ones. Read 120 books is always my goal every year. So even though I have way exceeded that the past couple years, it's still just gonna be my goal. I'm not gonna try to read 170 like I did this year or 190 like I did last year. I'm still gonna aim for 120. One goal I have every year is to spend less than $200 on books. I have met this goal basically every year. This year I'm going to try to spend less than $100 on books, and mainly this is because of the next few goals that are going to follow. I am going to try to get my physical owned TBR down to 50. It has really bounced between 80 and 100 pretty much no matter what for the past several years. So even though like I read a ton of books, I don't end up reading more than I get, and therefore it stays about the same. So if I'm really intentional about not getting that many books, I can just really pare down how many, like which books I'm asking for Christmas and my birthday, which books I ask for from publishers, any of that, and then that way I can just really try to have fewer owned unread books. And then part of that is that goal is also going to be to really try to clear out the books that I've had for a long time. I have a lot of unread books, some of which I've had for like 5 years, even like 10 years. Some of them I've had a couple of the books on my physical TBR for pretty close to the entire time I've had this channel, which is insane. So the other goal that I have that kind of relates to this is to also pare down my NetGalley TBR. I have requested a lot of my review copies on NetGalley, and I have a ton of backlist ones and a ton of new ones that I just requested not that long ago. So what I'm going to do is really try to first of all clear out my backlist ones, which I've been doing a really good job of, but also only request 10 books from NetGalley this year. I've already requested 3 because it's the beginning of the year, so of course I'm gonna request a few. But if I can really try to just not request that many this year, then I will have fewer front list ones, and I can really get cracking on the rest of the backlist ones that I have on there. My goal for the past several years has been to get my NetGalley percentage of books reviewed on there to be 80%, and I did actually almost meet that goal this year. Finally, I really cracked down on what books I have on there, and it is now at a good 79%. So that's really, really awesome. And therefore my goal this year is not going to be percent related. It's going to be how many am I allowed to request, which is just going to be 10. And so I got to really make them count. It is going to be different for if I get an email from a publisher inviting me to review that one. That's going to be a little bit different. Those are going to be not counted towards the number of ones that I'm requesting, but I think giving myself a limit is still going to make it so that I am not requesting too many books on there. And then similarly, I'm going to try to get my currently 4 pages of NetGalley backlist books to 3 pages. I think that seems pretty manageable. Then my last goal is No Romantasy, and that there are going to be exceptions to this. If it's a series I already like, that is okay. If it's an author I already like, that is okay. If it's a book I already have in ebook format or physical format, but I don't think there are any more of those, those are exempt as well. But for the most part, basically, I'm going to just deliberately try not to read any romantasy aside from ones I already like the series or author of. This year. And there are a few reasons for this. One is because 3 of the 5 books on my worst list this past year were romantasy, so clearly something is wrong here, because I'm always looking for fantasy romance and getting romantic fantasy that just put sex in there for no reason, and that's not my jam. It's just not. And then partly also because of how much romantasy has taken over the market to a bad extent. Basically, there was a market for fantasy romance. Publishing basically decided to finally capitalize on that, but just make it not really work, because they basically started marketing romantic fantasy and fantasy romance under one umbrella, and that only muddied the waters for me. That really just made it harder, not easier, for me to find good fantasy romance that's what I'm looking for. So because of that, it seems like fewer regular fantasy books are being published, and that's what I really want. I just want fantasy books, and I want fantasy romance books. I don't want this romantasy that is just there to be, you know, they're just kind of taking books and making them steamy for no reason when the book didn't call for that. There are a lot of books that I've read lately that didn't need that, especially in the past year. I've read several books that basically had the steaminess thrown in there when it didn't move the plot forward at all. Like, that could have just been a fantasy book and was not meant to have the romance be to that extent in it, and that just makes me so mad. And so I'm tired of the romantasy craze. It needs to go away. I actually did make the comparison to somebody that romantasy is almost like when Deadpool did really good at the box office, and the commentary that we started seeing from the film industry overall kind of was, oh, then I guess we need to make more raunchy movies, when actually that misses the entire point of why Deadpool did well and why people liked it. It was not for raunchiness at all, and that's what I feel like is happening with romantasy. Basically, the publishing industry saw that there was a market for fantasy romance, finally, but instead of going, oh, we need to pick up more fantasy romance, they said, oh, let's put sex into everything, all the fantasy books, when you pick up a romance book, whether it's a fantasy romance book or any romance book, it's not about the sex. The sex is secondary to the relationship that you're reading about. Well, that's what a romance book is all about. It's about being happy that a couple is finally together after spending the entire book going, oh no, will they get together or will they not? All this stuff is stopping them from being together, and then finally they get together and you're like, yay. And so the sex parts have... So sex scenes in romance has its place. It serves a particular purpose. But what I feel like the publishing industry is doing with romantasy is just putting sex in there wherever, and it just doesn't work. So I'm speaking it into existence unless I already own a particular book in ebook format or physical or whatever. Or it's a series that I already like, or an author I already really like, if it's one of my like auto-read authors or something, I will not read romantasy this year. So even if it sounds really awesome, it's probably not, and I'm not going to go into something with high hopes again, only to be disappointed again because the romance is terrible and sex is just thrown in there for no reason. So that's basically my biggest goal possibly this year, is that it's no romantasy 2026. So anyway, those are my goals for 2026 when it comes to reading and books. Let me know if you have any goals and what you think of my goals and all of that, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!